Okay, kids, first attempt at this. Going to show you a quick introduction with Eclipse here. So obviously this is going to be a little different from Visual Studio / Visual Basic that we've been using so far. So here we go. So when the program starts up here, it's going to ask you for a workspace. A workspace is basically where it's going to store all of your project files. So whenever you're creating your workspace here, it's good to put it into your My Documents folder. I'm on a Mac here, so obviously using Finder. Documents, I keep a folder called Workspaces, and then I've just got one that I'm creating here called CP11. So something along those lines is perfect here. Everything that we create inside of Eclipse is going to get stored into this folder. So I'm going to click Open. If you want, you can turn on, use this as the default and do not ask again. You can check that, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to leave it off because I have a second one on my computer here. And then we click Launch, and this will take 10 seconds or something because it has to create that folder and some basic files in it. And once it loads up, you hopefully get to the welcome screen. So this welcome screen is totally useless, so I always turn off show welcome at startup and close it. And we're just going to size this up to fill the window here. So here's your basic startup screen here. We're going to close down task list because you don't need it. And I like dragging this outline view kind of to the bottom left here. So the outline is going to be the things that are active in the current file that we're editing. And all of our projects are going to get stored in Package Explorer. So let's start out by making our first project. And this is very much the same idea as when we created a new project in Visual Studio. So I'm going to go to File, New, Java Project. And up comes the basic window here. So project name. In Java, these are usually made using dots. So kind of like a website. So I'm going to use the website style, which is common for Java here. And I'm going to go ca.hapkey.helloworld because we should always do hello world when we get started with a new programming language. I'm going to leave the default location on. Notice how that's going to go into my CP11 workspace that we just created. And you should have a JRE showing up in here. Either SE 12, 13, 14, something like that. Whatever you just installed is totally fine. And we can click Next. And that's fine. And once you get to tab number 2 here, on the Source tab here, as long as you've got an SRC folder showing here, that's where my Java source files are going to go. That's good. And your output folder should have a /bin on it. And as soon as you've got that in here, go ahead and click Finish. And if it comes up asking you about the module info, just click Create. Default's fine. And I'm going to close that. So now I've got a basic Hello World program in here with a source folder, and we're going to create a new file here. So right click on the source folder and go to New Class, and I'm going to call this Hello World. So notice how this source folder is in /src, and the package has the match with the project name, so that's fine. Gave it the name of Hello World. Leave it on public, unchecked here. Your super class here, this should be called Object. That's the built-in one for everything, which is good. And we want it to generate one called main. So our program is going to launch starting with a sub called main. And I'm going to turn off that. And we can turn on generate comments. And go ahead and click finish. Okay, so here is our file. I'm going to set my author to my name. And once we have entered Java here, so we've got some things that are created here. So the notation's a little bit different from Visual Basic that you're used to, but notice some similarities here. So remember when you're in your code view in Visual Basic, we had a class at the top, and whenever we were dimming variables that could be used throughout the whole class, we put them on line 2 just underneath the class declaration. Same thing here in Java. So that would go in this space right here. And our program is going to start running in the main sub. So basically this public static void thing, for now that basically just means sub. Void and sub are going to be the same thing here. And then we've done a lot of stuff with comments using an apostrophe, and then we can just type whatever. In Java, those are 2 slashes. So this is just a comment, which I'm going to delete. And our simple little hello world attempt here, let's just start out with system.out. And notice how I start getting some pop-ups here that are very much the same as what you've had in Visual Studio. And we use dot again, and we're going to just do print and then ln. And I want the one that prints out a string. And now I'm just going to add a quote here. I'm just going to go hello class. Make sure I close the quotes and push enter. One thing that's going to be important and a little annoying, make sure all of your lines of code end with a semicolon. And then at the bottom here, where you were used to seeing end sub here, that's going to be a curly bracket. So the curly bracket opens this sub and then it closes it with the other curly bracket. And notice how as I'm clicking around here, watch what happens with the opening curly bracket as I click on the closer here. Notice how it kind of highlights it up. And if I go to the curly bracket here that's the end class, as I select that, notice how the opener for the class highlights here as well. So that's a little bit of highlighting. Let's go to save all. And let's try and run this. So I'm going to right click on my class here. I'm going to go to run as Java application. It'll think for a second and it will open up the console view here. And here we go. So I got the text coming in saying hello class. So that is my little hello world example here. Hopefully you were able to follow that, and I'll have some more instructions for you coming up after.